The year has barely begun, and Ukraine has already delivered what many analysts are calling the best start of any year since the war began. In just the opening days, events on the battlefield have shifted momentum so dramatically that even long-time observers are struggling to keep up. This was not luck. This was not coincidence. This was strategy, preparation, and perfect timing. For months, critics claimed Ukraine was running out of options. They said Western aid delays, ammunition shortages, and battlefield fatigue would slow Kyiv down. Russia, on the other hand, projected confidence, claiming it was ready for a decisive push. But as the calendar flipped to a new year, Ukraine flipped the script entirely. Instead of large, predictable offensives, Ukraine unleashed a series of precise, calculated strikes that targeted Russia where it hurts the most. Logistics hubs, ammunition depots, fuel storage sites, and command centers suddenly became vulnerable. These were not random attacks. Each strike appeared to be part of a larger plan designed to paralyze Russian operations rather than simply push front lines forward. One of the biggest shocks came from Ukraine's growing dominance in drone warfare. Long-range drones penetrated deep into Russian-controlled territory, striking assets that were once considered untouchable. Air defenses that Russia boasted about for years failed again and again. Each successful hit sent a powerful message: distance is no longer protection. At the same time, Ukrainian forces intensified pressure along multiple fronts. Instead of focusing on a single direction, Ukraine forced Russia to stretch its defenses thin. Russian commanders were left guessing where the next blow would land. This uncertainty alone caused delays, confusion, and costly mistakes. Morale also became a decisive factor. Ukrainian soldiers entered the new year with renewed confidence, fueled by recent successes and improved coordination. Russian troops, by contrast, faced worsening conditions. Reports of exhausted units, poor rotations, and inadequate supplies continued to surface. When an army loses confidence, even strong defensive positions can crumble. Politically, Ukraine's strong start sent shockwaves beyond the battlefield. Allies who were hesitant suddenly had proof that support was not being wasted. Each Ukrainian success strengthened Kyiv's position in negotiations and diplomacy. Russia, meanwhile, found itself under increased pressure at home, where questions about the cost and purpose of the war grew louder. Perhaps the most important element of Ukraine's early year success is adaptability. Ukraine has shown time and again that it learns faster than its opponent. Tactics that worked for Russia last year are now ineffective. Electronic warfare, drone swarms, and precision artillery have evolved rapidly on Ukraine's side, leaving Russian forces constantly reacting instead of controlling the situation. This doesn't mean the war is over tomorrow. Russia still has manpower, resources, and the ability to cause destruction. But wars are not decided by numbers alone. They are decided by momentum, initiative, and the ability to shape the battlefield. Right now, all three favor Ukraine. Calling Russia done does not mean immediate collapse. It means something more significant. Russia is no longer dictating the pace of the war. It is responding, defending, and improvising under pressure. Ukraine, meanwhile, is choosing when, where, and how to strike. As the year unfolds, one thing is clear. Ukraine did not wait for opportunities to appear. It created them. This explosive start has rewritten expectations and reminded the world that determination, innovation, and smart strategy can change the course of history. If this is how Ukraine begins the year, the months ahead could redefine the entire conflict. The message is unmistakable. Ukraine is not slowing down. Ukraine is just getting started. That turning point is what now defines this phase of the war. Ukraine is no longer reacting to Russian moves. It is forcing Russia into constant reaction mode. Every day begins with uncertainty for Russian commanders, who must assume that any position, any convoy, any headquarters could already be marked for a strike. This persistent pressure is not accidental. It is the result of a deliberate strategy aimed at exhausting Russia not just physically, but mentally and structurally. One of the most important developments has been Ukraine's ability to synchronize multiple domains of warfare at once. Ground operations, drone strikes, electronic warfare, cyber actions, and long-range precision attacks are no longer operating independently. They are coordinated. When a drone strike hits a logistics hub, electronic warfare often follows, jamming communications. When Russian units attempt to relocate, artillery and loitering munitions are already waiting. This layered approach leaves very little room for recovery. At the same time, Ukraine has mastered the art of forcing Russia to overspend its resources. Cheap drones trigger expensive air defense systems. Decoy targets cause missile launches that drain stockpiles. Every interception that fails is not just a tactical loss, but a strategic one. Over time, this imbalance adds up, slowly tipping the scales further in Ukraine's favor. Another major shift can be seen in how Ukraine manages. Instead of reckless assaults, Ukrainian commanders are prioritizing force preservation. Units are rotated more efficiently. Missions are limited in scope, but high in impact, and unnecessary exposure is avoided. This contrasts sharply with Russia's continued reliance on attrition-heavy tactics, where gains are measured in meters and paid for with heavy losses. Russia's internal challenges are also becoming impossible to ignore. Logistics strains, inconsistent training, and command infighting have all been reported repeatedly. When combined with Ukraine's relentless pressure, these weaknesses become magnified. A system that might function under low stress begins to crack when pushed continuously. Ukraine is applying that pressure every single day. The information war has followed the same pattern. Ukraine has been highly selective about what it reveals, often allowing Russia to underestimate the scale or direction of upcoming actions. When results finally appear, they feel sudden and overwhelming. Russia, meanwhile, continues to rely on outdated narratives that struggle to explain repeated setbacks. This credibility gap is widening, both domestically and internationally. As weeks pass, the cumulative effect becomes clear. Russian units are slower to respond, repairs take longer. Replacements arrive with less training and lower morale. Equipment is stretched thinner across a wider front. None of these factors alone would decide a war, but together they create a downward spiral that is extremely difficult to reverse. Ukraine's leadership understands that wars are not won by single dramatic moments, but by sustained advantage. That is why this strong start to the year matters so much. It sets the tone, it signals intent. It tells both allies and adversaries that Ukraine is prepared not just to endure, but to dictate terms. Western support also looks different in this context. Success breeds confidence. Each effective Ukrainian operation strengthens the argument that assistance is making a real difference. This, in turn, increases political will and long-term commitment. Russia, on the other hand, finds itself facing a conflict that is becoming harder to justify and harder to sustain. The battlefield itself reflects this shift. Areas that once felt secure are now exposed. Supply lines once considered stable are repeatedly disrupted. Command posts must move constantly, reducing efficiency and coordination. This constant instability favors the side that adapts faster. And right now, that side is Ukraine. Calling this Russia's most difficult moment of the war so far is not an exaggeration. It is facing an opponent that has learned, evolved, and grown more confident under fire. Ukraine's best start of the year is not about headlines or symbolism. It is about control. Control of tempo, control of information, and control of decision-making. As the year continues, the stakes will only grow higher. Ukraine has shown that it can seize opportunities and turn them into lasting advantages. Russia must now find a way to break Ukraine's momentum, a task that becomes harder with each passing day. If this pressure is maintained, this phase of the war may be remembered not just as a strong beginning, but as the period when the outcome truly began to take shape. Ukraine is no longer proving it can survive. It is proving it can outthink, outmaneuver, and outlast one of the world's largest military machines.